If you want some helpful tips for using the new Butterflies Thinlits from Stampin' Up!, I've got some I'd like to share with you. Hi, this is Sage Kimball and I'm the Mad Stamper with more technique tips for card makers and paper crafters. Thinlits dies are like framelits, but often have intricate designs like these butterflies. The smallest butterfly in this set is actually just a framelit, and it coordinates with one of the stamps in the Butterfly Basics stamp set. And you use it just like you would any framelit. I've got the stamped image and I've got it on a cutting pad on my magnetic platform. Then I just center that framelit around the image, and then I'll run it through the Big Shot. So you've probably used framelits with coordinating stamps plenty, so you don't need many tips for that. But let's move on to these more intricate butterflies. With all the detail in this die, with so many lines that are cut, the cardstock easily gets stuck in the die after it's cut out. So here's a tip to keep that from happening. When I make my sandwich, I put the cardstock down and then a piece of wax paper on top of it. Then the die with the cutting ridges down against the wax paper. Now I'll put the top cutting pad on and run this through the Big Shot, and I'll be right back. So you can see the butterfly just kind of slips right out of the die because of the wax paper. But I'm going to hold it in the die while I punch out the little cutouts, because it gives me something stiff to hold the cardstock against while I poke through the holes with my paper piercing tool. Now, if you find that some of the pieces haven't been cut through all the way and you can't poke them out, all you have to do is put it back in the Big Shot, run it through again, and it will complete any cuts that didn't go through all the way. So I can turn it over and make sure I didn't miss any of the little cutouts, and I can brush away any pieces that are stuck. And then I'm ready to take it out of the die, and because of the wax paper, that's quite easy. And it also gives me this, I think, really cool wax paper butterfly that I'll have to figure out something fun to do with it. If you have trouble getting your cardstock out of the die, the Thinlits have a lot of these little round holes that you can use to put your paper piercing tool or a stylus in and push against the cardstock, and that'll help it come out of the die. I tend to think that these butterflies need some texture to them. The design is lovely, but for my taste, they look a little flat. So, for example, on this card, I used some Smooch Spritz, some Very Vanilla mixed with alcohol, and I sprayed it real well so it's got a nice shimmer to it now. And here's some other ideas. Of course, you can spritz with any color ink you want mixed with alcohol in a little spray bottle, or you can use a color spritzer like this. Stampin' Up! Used to sell these. I'm really disappointed they don't sell them any longer, but I think they're still available online from a company called Perfect Paper Crafting. So I've got a Elegant Eggplant marker in here, and I'm just going to squeeze the bulb, and that'll make nice little freckles on my butterfly. And if you have one of these or get one and you need some instruction about how to make them work, because they can be tricky, I've got a video on how to do that on my YouTube channel. So you can see this has given this rather plain looking butterfly some nice texture. So another idea that I really like is to sponge the butterfly with a darker color, and it can give you a nice variegated touch. So I like to make some areas darker and keep some kind of light. Now, you may not recognize it, but this is actually a piece of So Saffron cardstock. It looks quite different with the sponging. I used some Blackberry Bliss on it. And then I would probably go ahead and spritz this with the Vanilla Smooch Spritz as well to give it that touch of bling. The next challenge comes when it's time to attach the butterfly to your project. Because these veins, as I call them, the little lines of cardstock that are left after you cut it out, because they're so small, a lot of adhesives are just too messy. So if you want this butterfly to sit flat on some cardstock, the easiest thing I found was to use some snail and apply it lightly. I've got a piece of wax paper under the butterfly so that I won't get adhesive on my work surface. And you want to be careful not to tear the delicate butterfly. And if there are areas where the adhesive is still showing through the holes, you can kind of clean that up before you attach it to the cardstock. With the butterfly against the cardstock, I can still see a little bit of snail showing in some of those holes. So I'll just take my adhesive remover and it will pick up that extra snail. Most of the time, however, when I use the butterfly framelits or thinlits, I'm going to leave some parts of the butterfly unattached so it will give more of a 3D effect like in this card. What I've found works best for that is glue dots because they're small and they're very strong adhesive. For this size butterfly, our regular glue dots will fit on the body of the butterfly just fine, but they're too big for any other areas. And I like to tack down part of the wing right about here. And this is where micro glue dots come in really handy. They're only half the size of the ones we carry. I got these online. Might carry them at your craft store, I don't know. But they'll fit right in those little veins of cardstock. So then I can place this butterfly on a background and let the edges curl up. So I hope you'll experiment with some of these ideas using the new Butterflies Thinlits and have fun adding these awesome butterflies to your spring cards and paper craft projects. For more inspiration and instruction, be sure to visit me on my website at www.stampingmadly.com, the Stamping Madly Facebook page, and the Mad Stamper YouTube channel. Happy stamping!